Fellas, in today's video, I'll be showing you how to play Hawkeye in this Marvel Rivals guide. Hawkeye is an extraordinarily powerful hero to play, especially if you're able to land some headshots. He is great in the back of the line, but he does have some abilities that allow him to play somewhat more centrally with this team. He's great for taking out targets at a range, and he has arrows that pierce and deals tons of damage. And if you happen to be able to track your target for just a little bit of time, this charges up his bonus ability, allowing him to deal even more damage to his attack. Hawkeye in the beginning was an incredibly powerful hero, although these days you don't see him all too much, but he's still very much a pain to deal with. So let's just jump right into him, as I'm sure you have seen a lot of him already. However, I just want to start off with his cosmetics, as he's a lot cooler in the game than he was in the movies. Although this cosmetic, I really hate it. Maybe it's the sunglasses, I'm not sure what particularly, I just don't like it. But the yellow, I think this is the first yellow costume besides Wolverine I have really liked on a hero so far this game. Now for his basic attack, you have two of them. You can see this in the bottom left here. You have his piercing arrow and you have his blast arrow. One shoots 3 explosive arrows, dealing moderate damage. This allows you to hit more people in an area of effect. And then you have his piercing arrow that shoots a very powerful arrow. Just jumping right into his passive. If you aim at an enemy, this helps improve focus, enhancing the damage inflicted by piercing arrow. Piercing arrow is going to be the main damage dealer that you use. It has a minimum charge up time of 0.7 seconds, and the damage ranges from either 8 damage to 80 damage. Unlimited ammo, you can crit, and the projectile fires really fast. For the blast arrow, if you happen to be up high and shooting at targets below you, this does 15 damage per projectile or 32 damage with the spell field. Going into his next ability, that is Crescent Slash, using your shift ability, as you can see in the bottom right. This will use his katana and slash forward, launching enemies up. It does 40 damage, has a 12-second cooldown with the 8-meter range. After that, on his E ability, we have his hypersonic arrow. This does 2 instances of damage and inflicts enemies with slow. It also can knock down flying heroes, as you can see there with the storm. It does 50 damage per hit, lasts about a second with a 12-second cooldown, and the slow rate is of 40%. That's an incredible slow rate in this game. Thankfully, it's just a one-use item, so it's not something that you have to be spamming all the time, not that you can, but it is something that you should be using fairly often. Now, with his melee, however, you have the Ronin Slash. This uses a different type of katana, not super important, but what it does is deflect incoming projectiles. As you can see there, Hala's trying to snipe him, uses that, his basic melee, and it deflects. From there, you have Skyward Leap, double jump in the direction of your choice. Does have a cooldown, so you can use it for positioning or trying to get away, but it's not something you get to use all the time. And then lastly, he does have a team up with Black Widow. This creates after images for her to shoot. And speaking of after images, that's what Hunter Sight is all about. For this, for 10 seconds, the enemy will create an after image every half of a second. That lasts about 3 seconds. Doing this, if you shoot the after image, this will inflict damage onto the target. So this is good for trying to take out enemies who are moving around a lot, or if you're just going to be rapidly shooting, great in team fights. No critical hit with them, so just aim for the body and get off as many shots as you can. Now, Hawkeye is best played from a distance, obviously. You can take advantage of some nice vantage points, or you can flank around to take out healers, but if you do that, just be careful on your getaway plan, as he doesn't have great mobility and can be taken down fairly easy. If you do pace your shots and aim for headshots, you can one-shot some of the healers and some of the DPS, but a lot of the times, especially in team fights, no one's going to be at full health, so you don't need to take a lot of time to focus your shots. Just getting off good headshots will be the best way to go. Now, unlike Hela, I do think that Hawkeye is a little bit challenging to play, mostly because of the timing on his abilities and not really having the best getaway plan. But once you get used to his playstyle, he is very useful to have on the team, especially if you don't happen to have a Hela on the team. As for combos with Hawkeye, honestly, there really isn't any that I can recommend off the top of my head. Your basic attack, the piercing arrow, is gonna be your main source of dealing damage. And while you can use your run slash to block projectiles or use your crescent slash to knock enemies back, you want to play as a sniper, you want to be in the back. If not with your supports, maybe even a little bit behind them. You're not going to be chaining together melee combos, you want to be hitting your shots. And now if you do have an enemy team that has a lot of flying enemies on it, you can use the hypersonic arrow, the E ability, to knock them out of the air, allowing for your team to help take care of them. Now, one thing that I do see fairly common, and I want to make sure that you don't do it, is just peppering your enemies with arrows, doing tons of chip damage but not getting those kills in. Just peppering an enemy can be okay if you're up against just one and they're at lower health. You can always follow up with more arrows to take them down if you're in close proximity. But one of the biggest things that you do have to keep an eye on with Hawkeye is your positioning and where the enemy team is. I know that sounds really straightforward, but as someone who's in the backline and sniping, you are going to be targeted by the DPS, as you are a long-range threat. So make sure that you have your crescent slash not on cooldown and available to use in case you do get dived, and your double jump will be very useful to get away in that case as well. And if you get really good at your aiming, you'll be able to one-shot a cloak and dagger in their ultimate. You just have to make sure you shoot whoever is leading. So if it's Cloak who pops the cloak and dagger ultimate, you have to shoot Cloak. If it's Dagger who pops the cloak and dagger ultimate, you have to shoot Dagger. A little bit confusing, but if you pay attention, you'll be able to get used to it. The biggest tip that I could recommend with Hawkeye is gonna have to be get some games under your belt so that you are calm and collected while you do play. That is gonna be the biggest tool that you'll have in your arsenal with Hawkeye. If you are someone who is shaky and jumping around and moving around all the time, Hawkeye definitely will not be the person for you. But if you're able to stay calm and collected and pace and track your shots, you will be a master at Hawkeye in no time and absolutely destroy whatever team you come up against. And that's a wrap on this Hawkeye Marvel Rivals guide. Hawkeye is very simple to use, not a complicated toolkit, and is someone who can get in one-shot kills, and it feels amazing when you do. If you have any tips of your own, be sure to leave them below. And hey, hit that like button if you're still watching, subscribe for more videos like this if you haven't already. Stay tuned for the next one.